Hey everybody, it's that Sunday School Girl of thatsundayschoolgirl.com. Do you see this face right here? This is the face of the girl who just turned in her last final for this semester, and I am just I'm relieved. I almost wanted to go skipping and dancing out of the building. It is over. 5 semesters down in law school, 1 to go, and I am so grateful to God. It's like a weight lifted to have everything at least turned in, and we'll wait for grades to post and all that. But in the meantime, I am on holiday break and I am excited about it. I still have a few things to do. As a matter of fact, this is the last time you'll see this background, because when I finish up today, I'll be packing up and we'll say bye-bye to this apartment, and I'm going to go stay with Mom for my last semester of law school. So that'll be interesting. Maybe you'll get to see her sometime next semester. But again, thank you all for your encouragement, your love, your notes, and your prayers. Listen, even in the middle of all of the craziness with finals and all, something absolutely amazing happened last week. And if you didn't see it on my social media, I'll share it here because I want to say thank you to you as well. Last week, the lesson video for That Sunday School Girl received more than 9,500 unique views on YouTube. More than 9,500 people between Monday and Sunday were prepared for Sunday school, and that is absolutely incredible to me. It was the most watched lesson study video on YouTube last week. So thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. This is the Lord's doing, and it's marvelous in our eyes. I used to hear my grandfather say that every Sunday, and I understand how that feels when God does something so amazingly overwhelming, and that's what this feels like for me as we continue to share God's word and get this lesson out. Now listen, after I finish this video, there's still so much more to do for me. In fact, this is the last time you'll see this particular corner, because when I finish up here, I've got to go finish packing boxes. I'm actually getting out of this apartment, so say bye-bye apartment. And I'm going to go stay with Mom next semester. My last semester, we're going to stay with Mom. So you may get to meet her on a video. We'll see. But again, I'm excited because it's holiday break, and so for the next 4 weeks, I just have a little space to breathe, and it is simply phenomenal. In the spirit of so much going on, I want you to know that not only have you been supportive, but my family, my friends have been amazing. And last week I got a text that said, "We're working on your video. We'll have it to you early next week." And I'm telling you, like a tear formed in my right eye. Like I was all buried in my antitrust and my family mediation stuff. And this tear right here, like it just started to roll, because we talked about this months ago, and the fact that my friends remembered me for this week, that everything would be coming to a head and the move and all of that. So I am excited that this week my friends from Florida, the Davises, you're going to meet them, Mitchell and Tamiko, are going to share the lesson with us for this week, and I am so appreciative. So I pray that you will receive them and say thank you to them just for being supportive of me. It just means so much. So we're going to enjoy the lesson with them. But this week, we are continuing our study on faith, and we are in Acts, the 14th chapter, and they're going to share the lesson. But the overall theme that we're talking about is faith to persevere. And I kind of got familiar with the lesson a bit, because that's a very interesting title to me, and I kind of wanted to dig into my thoughts on that kind of personally. First of all, I looked up persevere, and to persevere means to continue a course of action in the face of difficulty, or where there appears that there may be little or no prospect of success. And we're going to see that as the work of the church is spread. But that's very personal for some of us as we look at how we approach life and approach our own successes and things that we want to accomplish. Perseverance is so incredibly important. I read something that said that the brave are not fearless. They just keep pushing and doing the right thing despite their fears. And the same goes with persevering or being resilient. You might think that it's about being mentally tough and that those people never want to give up. And that's simply not true. But it's a mindset that causes you to persevere and to continue to push through that. I think about that even in my own journey with law school. This is like seriously the single most difficult educational exploit I've ever taken on. And early on, I'll be honest with you, my first year, I even almost sold myself out of things because I said, if this doesn't work for any reason, I can always go back and do what I was doing. And whereas that is true, I had to watch for that becoming a handicap or a crutch for not even trying or making sure that I had my best efforts forward, or even giving myself the excuse before anything even happened. And sometimes we're guilty of that, because persevering and pushing through is really, it takes an energy out of you. So how do you do that? What is it that sends people searching for ways to create their success? And how do you push even when you're at your lowest point, when you want to crawl away, when you want to just step away from everything? What is it that you do on your darkest day? And that's what this lesson is going to push us through. There were a few things that I thought about, and there are 10 things that I'll share with you about people who persevere. Then I'll let the Davises teach the lesson. But again, success on any level requires the ability to follow through, to execute a plan, to stick it out no matter what. And here are 10 things that I think about it. First of all, you want to make sure that you make goals or have aspirations that are worthy of perseverance. And you have to keep that before you at all times. There are a lot of us who now have vision boards, or maybe there's something you keep on your phone, or there's a sticky that you have up. But every single day, that thing that you're working toward, you have to keep it in front of you. And there has to be something about you every day that pushes toward that thing. The second thing is, don't let fear and worry wreck your focus. When we give too much time to fear and worrying about the unknown, and quite frankly things that may never even happen, that is only it's a pit in our minds, a place that the enemy can go and really wreak havoc in us accomplishing the things that we've set out to accomplish. The third thing is to keep your focus no matter what, regardless of what others are doing. When I talk about that, I look at the fact that, first of all, social media is like, it's insane, because so many of us look at what others are doing and start to say, well, I'm not doing, or, oh, I wish, and then comparing your own successes in light of what you see on social media, which, by the way, 99% of that stuff is probably not even real, because people only put like the happy, super, I'm amazing stuff on Facebook, right? So you have to keep that in mind, that nobody is living this life of perfection. And so you cannot afford to lose your focus by looking at what other people are doing and allowing them to become your benchmark. The next thing is, don't get distracted by things that don't really matter. And again, when you're trying to get your focus on something, you've got to make your plan and stick it out. And in the spirit of social media, like our technology, our phones, the way we have to always stay connected, that can be distracting. But find a place that you create a space of silence, a place of reflection, a place of peace that allows you to stay focused on what it is you want to accomplish. The next thing is, recall past persistence. When you've accomplished something in the past, what has it taken for you to get to that goal? How did you do it? And you've got to keep that in mind. The things that made you successful in the past may be the model to help you be successful in the future, because it tells you a lot about your personal work habits and how you achieve success. The sixth thing is, take a step. Do something. Plans on paper are just plans on paper. It's a wish, it's a dream, but until you take a step, it is just that. It's a dream, it's a wish on paper, but you've got to take that first step. Next, you ask the right questions. Get mentors around you. Get people around you who have experience in the places that you want to be, and ask great questions. The eighth thing is to set your pace. Give yourself milestones. Where should you be by certain points? What goals do you want to reach by when? And you've got to keep your pace. The ninth thing, and I'm almost done, is to feed your passion and your purpose. Whatever your thing is, you need to study your craft. If you are a seamstress, if you knit, if you do videos on YouTube, whatever that thing is, you need to study your craft. Sunday school teachers, you've heard me say that before. You need to make sure that you're following Sunday school ministries. Look at boards on Pinterest. Whatever your thing is, whatever you're being persistent in, you need to feed your passion. And the last thing is, no matter what, just keep going. Keep going no matter what, because again, when we stop, that's place for the enemy to say, see, I told you so, or I knew you wouldn't do it, or even to sell ourselves out of what didn't work, because sometimes the enemy is in our own minds. It's in me. So remember, you get what you expect. I want you to expect great things, and this week we're going to study this lesson together about faith to persevere. Enjoy the Davises. Thank you all again so much. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.
Hi, we are not that Sunday school girl. We are that Sunday school couple. And we'd like to thank Waynell for the opportunity, that Sunday school girl, for allowing us to do this Sunday school lesson. I am Tamiko.
And I am Mitchell. And we're from the jurisdiction of Southwestern Florida, where our bishop is the Bishop Matthew Williams, General Board Member. And our Sunday school superintendent is
Cecilia Otis.
We have a great opportunity and a great lesson that we're going to go over today. We thought this would be a great idea to showcase Florida and its sunniness. However, this week it has been cold, and I do not like the cold. Can we take this lesson inside and continue from there?
I think we should.
All right, let's do that. Give us just a minute and we will go inside and we will go over this lesson. Wow, Tamiko, this is so much better. I like the fact that we're inside and the warmth of the house. So we can go ahead and get started with this lesson. Come along and join with us as we study the lesson for this week.
Lesson 3, December 17th. Faith to persevere.
Bible basis, Acts 14, 8 through 11, 19 through 23.
The Bible truth. Paul was stoned and persecuted, but his faith in his message impelled him to proclaim the good news.
Our memory verse comes from Acts chapter 14, verses 21 and 22. And when they had preached the gospel to that city and had taught many, they returned again to Lystra and to Iconium and Antioch, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that they must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of God.
The lesson aim. By the end of the lesson, we will evaluate the nature of the miracle performed at Lystra, consider the fickleness of the crowd's mentality, and pray for courage and strength in the face of resistance to the gospel.
Let's get to the study of the lesson for today. Tamiko, can you give a little bit of background on the lesson?
Sure. How did Paul and Barnabas get to Lystra? Or why were they in Lystra? At the beginning of the chapter 14, Paul and Barnabas were in Iconium, preaching in the Jewish synagogue to a mixed crowd of Jews and Greeks. The unbelieving Jews were stirring up the crowd against Paul and Barnabas to the point that in Iconium they plotted to stone them there. Word got to the apostles, and they continued their ministry mission in Lystra. Thank God he made a way of escape.
And the start of this lesson begins with Paul teaching the gospel in Lystra, a hearer of the good news believing that this word was for him that day. This man found himself in a similar predicament as the very popular man who Paul and Peter encountered at the gate called Beautiful. That can be found in Acts 3, chapter 2 through 12. Both men were lame from the time of their birth. One thing stands out about this lame man: the fact that he listened to Paul preach the gospel. He determined within himself, today I will be healed. The man's faith, along with the apostles' word of agreement, demonstrated God's move.
The people of Lystra were truly amazed at this miracle work of God. However, they attribute this miracle to the gods of their culture. They worship multiple gods, such as Jupiter, Mercury, Zeus, and Hermes. You know the same gods taught today in Greek mythology. I always like to refer to them as the small g gods, because they do not deserve the big G as the creator of the heaven and the earth, our true and living God. So Paul and Barnabas taught them from where their understanding was. In verse 13, one of the background verses for this lesson, the true God acts was so amazing that the priests of the pagan god Jupiter wanted to make a sacrifice. They were going to make the sacrifice to the wrong God, but they understood the idea behind worship and praise. When God has done something great, we need to bring something before Him to show our appreciation.
Yes, that's so true. Even as Paul and Barnabas spoke in Lystra, people from their past showed up, again to try and stop the spread of the gospel. The Jews from Iconium and the Jews from Antioch followed Paul and Barnabas. Now, they weren't disciples of Paul and Barnabas, but they did it for the wrong reason. They followed them to Lystra and again plotted to kill Paul by stoning. Those Jews stirred up the crowd again, now in Lystra, and believed that they were successful in their actions because they left Paul for dead outside the city of Lystra. My research says that many scholars believe that this experience is described by Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 2 through 5, as a near-death experience, and that it is possible that when Paul rose up and came into the city, he was actually raised from the dead. At the very least, he was miraculously healed, because the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe.
I like the fact that the people of Lystra became believers and believed that Paul was from the true and living God, stayed with him outside the city until they saw the move of God again. We must make such an impact on people's lives that they will believe in the God that we talk about, so that it can demonstrate His miraculous acts in their lives as they believe on our God. We have to be really careful how we treat the unbelievers and the skeptics. If we are careful and loving, they can be converted into believers one day, because we draw thee with love and kindness.
Yes, I agree with that, Tamiko. Now, Paul and Barnabas did not let the vicious acts deter them from continuing their mission of spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, because after Lystra, they traveled to Derbe, preached, and then came back to Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch of Pisidia. When they returned to the cities which they had preached the gospel, and unbelievers became believers, they fulfilled their responsibilities as prescribed by Jesus of the Great Commission, to go into the uttermost parts of the world and preach the gospel to the Jews and the Gentiles. They encouraged those new believers to continue. They encouraged those new believers to continue in the faith, or persevere in faith.
Paul experienced people coming against him, and Barnabas, even as they did good. As believers, we have to understand that opposition will come continually.
Now, one of the things that we have to also understand, Tamiko, is that we always have to be pushing forward. If we push forward, then that will mean that we are doing exactly the will of God. No matter what comes our way, we have to continue to push forward.
Amen.
We hope that you learned something on today, and we really want to thank that Sunday school girl.
Waynell, that Sunday school girl. This is a lot harder than we ever could have thought. That you do this on a weekly basis. We commend you, and we wish you well, and all blessings to you in your studies.
Also, we want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas.